Yes, he's the Superman that is on time. Listen here, we're going to do this, and then...
I didn't want to just wait for these other slackers. We're going to get the party started, right?
Tom, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. You are Superman to a whole generation of fans without even having to put on a suit, which is incredible. And also, the one thing that I loved most about your show was the father-son relationship with Jonathan and Clark. Talk to me about working and cultivating that relationship with John Schneider.
Well, it was actually really cool because I knew who John was from growing up at Dukes of Hazzard. But it wasn't until the second or third season, he really did take me under his wing because I really didn't know what I was doing. And that whole hand on the shoulder thing, that was actually John talking to Tom a lot of times.
Really?
And I remember it was season 2, season 3, he goes, you know, I used to be on a television show myself. And I'm like, yeah, Dukes of Hazzard. He's like, you know that? I'm like, yeah. He goes, why didn't you say anything? I was like, I've been too nervous. But he really tried to help me and protect me and guide me. And I think that carried over to the Clark thing because it could have been really easy for Clark to be like, I'm not listening to you. But it really just didn't feel like the right dynamic. So he's great. I still love seeing him. I love the guy.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but growing up, you weren't the biggest Superman fan, correct?
I mean, I watched the Chris movies.
Sure.
I mean, when people say Superman, that's who I think of. But I wasn't a comic book guy or any of that. So I think that helped me playing Clark because Clark didn't know who he was going to be.
Well, the only reason I mention that is because now you're a dad. Talk to me about how your relationship with Clark and Superman has evolved after becoming a dad and letting the dust settle after Smallville.
I don't think I could play that naive anymore. If you know what I mean, that would have been real acting. Not to do it. But no, I think I appreciate the Jonathan Clark relationship probably more than I did at the time.
Sure.
No, it's really great. I mean, my boys think I'm Superman, so that's all I need.
That's incredible.
As good as it gets.
Yeah, I was listening to your podcast, and you said that your sons like dressing up as superheroes for Halloween and stuff, and they won't. You asked them, why won't you put on Superman?
No, they don't have one.
They don't have one.
They never asked for a Superman costume, and I asked, he was 5 at the time. I said, why not? And he goes, because he's taken. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you're Superman. So they have Batman. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, you name it. They have too many, to be honest. When they start going through looking for stuff, I don't know if anybody has kids, everything they touch just goes behind them as they look for something else. You know what I mean? And it's just covered, but yeah, we spoil them a little bit with that. It's fun.
You did Smallville for 10 years, and it's really rare now that shows go on for 10 seasons, especially at 20 plus episodes a season. Production-wise, you guys also changed the game because now it's a lot safer because you guys were doing 16-hour days. Is that correct?
Oh, if we were lucky. Yeah. There were times where I would do 14 hours on one set, drive an hour, and do 6 hours on another one. And I think that's all. Actually because of social media and because, it used to be you had to pick up a phone to call someone to complain, and then that person had to call somebody else to complain. Now you can just post the complaint. A lot of other people see it. So you can't get away with it so much anymore, that sort of thing.
Oh, we got Dean Cain here!
Dean Cain.
Wow, we were just talking about you.
Brandon Routh! Tim Daley! Tyler Hoechlin and George Newbern! There we go, the Superman!
I'm gonna move to a better spot. This place is a full house today.
Forget all these people faces. I am the son, 6 foot Eli. I'm the shortest person on the stage. You're dead. All right, we have a full Superman here. How you guys doing, gentlemen? I'm surprised that all the people didn't see this come on.
You too, by the way.
The role of Superman comes with a lot of responsibility and expectation. For each of you prepare for the role mentally, and what was the most challenging aspect of getting into the character's head? And we'll start with you.
Pardon?
We'll start with you.
I'm sorry. Let's see. I didn't want to think about it too much because it would have freaked me out. Star Wars superhero universe. I thought of my older brother who was an Eagle Scout and is now orthopedic surgeon. So I sort of thought, what would my brother say? That's where I went. Not complicated things.
Tyler?
I kind of always thought like to give him a little bit of like imposter syndrome. I think everybody kind of experiences that in a certain way. So yeah, he can do all these things, but there's still, I mean, he is an alien living amongst humans. So there's still like that element of imposter in a way we kind of deal with. So that kind of like humbled him for me and made him very relatable in the sense of I was almost playing like almost embarrassed with being Superman. Yeah, I did the idea of the name. So we actually in the flashback episode. We had a line where she says, how did you know this was happening? I said, oh, my hearing. And at first, we was like, I said my super hearing. And I asked our show, I'm like, can we just say my hearing? And then she says, hearing? I go, oh, my super hearing. That's just kind of an aside. And then so when I leave at the end of that scene, they go, who was that? She goes, that's Superman. So she kind of gives the name. And so we kind of played with that a little bit. Like it grounded him for me and basically what it relatable. So.
Tim?
Can I tell a slightly off-color story?
Absolutely.
So, I sort of, modeled things, or I could not get out of my mind Christopher Reeve, because he was my Superman. I remember one time Al Roker, remember Al Roker? Al Roker came to interview me when I was doing this show, and this woman who was interviewing me said, I was interviewing, sorry, and he said, so what is it like doing the voice of Superman? And I said, well, it's interesting because he's always getting smashed, with stuff, girders and trains, and electrocuted and laser beam and all this stuff. And I said, so the majority of my work is actually a lot of grunting, straining, screaming, and yelling. And I said, come to think of it, it's a little disconcerting to think that the children of America have a pretty good idea what I sound like in bed.
What you said that
The woman from Warner Brothers who was there was like, and they sent me a very nice letter asking me to please desist from saying things like that.
Brandon, I'm sorry you had to hear that.
I'm over it now. You're not wrong. Because it's so hot, it goes through my head sometimes. About me? I was informed to get that. What was the question?
The responsibility of expectation, how did you prepare for the role mentally as it gets to Superman's head? And Clark's head.
There's no short answer to that. But I trusted in that I was enough that I was given the job, and the opportunity, and the way it came to me was very much I kind of saw what was happening and felt like I was making it happen at the time, and maybe somewhere else. And so I was continually preparing myself through the 7-8 month process of getting cast, and Chris always was who I modeled the character after before it was the script that it was. Back when it was another version of the script, same core, the same heart, so I felt that, I guess, strong enough that I trusted in whatever that was that I couldn't put to words, the energy that Chris, that I received from him in the role, and went with that as best I could, and then just tried to learn about the world. 25.
How about you, Dean? You were 25. I was 26.
Yeah.
I was terrified. It was terrifying for me because Christopher Reeve, as Tim mentioned, and Brandon, was my Superman 100%. I grew up with him
watching it live. When I heard they were going to do a television version of it, I was terrified. Like, this is going to suck, right? They won't be able to do anything. We won't have the effects. It's going to be awful. And this is before all of these other superhero shows have been on, so it's been a long time since there's been something like that on television. And the last one was George Reeve's version. And I didn't want to make that one as much as her day, but I like this Clark Kent. So fortunately for my version, the version that we had, Deborah Jordan created a great situation where it was about Lois and Clark and a different thing. I was able to just sort of hide myself in that script. It's way too much to think you're going to be playing Superman. I mean, I got the job and I went skiing like 2 days later with my buddy there on the script plan. We're going up the lift, you know, it's quiet, the snow's falling. And he just looks at me and goes, dude, for the rest of your license, we call you Superman. What does that feel like? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. You can never know until you're thrown into the fire. Obviously, all of us have experienced that, but it's pretty amazing. It's something when people are like, does it bother you? People call you Superman? I'm like, are you kidding? I've been called a lot worse. I'm like, so honored to be up here with these guys and honored to be able to play the character.
Yes, true contributor.
I mean, to be honest, it's pretty quick. When they found out let me read the script after signing an NDA, I realized that this was not a show about Superman, it was a show about Clark Kent. And I've said this story before, but I actually written into my contract that I wouldn't put on the suit because I wanted to stay Clark. And I wanted to tell that story, so I was able to just not think of it. Clark didn't know who he was going to be, and I didn't know what I was doing, so it was kind of great. Yeah. And it was probably episode 5, they wrote something where Clark puts a suit on, and it was a business affairs call. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And I think if Clark would have put the suit on in the first 3 seasons, we'd have never done it.
I completely agree.
We kind of had to do that, and I meet some people who come to the table and they're dressed, and I'm like, how come you didn't want to put the suit on? And I hate breaking the heart being like, I never wanted to. But apparently they're tight. Yeah. And they don't breathe well. Tyler, I think that was your big one thing you would change, right? You know,
The suit doesn't breathe well?
it's great. We did one of these a couple weeks ago. They said, what's the one thing you change about your character? And you're like, the fit of the suit? Yeah, that's all I was referring to, sorry.
It's easier to fight in sweats, that's all I'm saying.
Dean,
You don't feel as powerful.
Dean, the new adventures of Lois and Clark really heavily focused on the relationship with Clark and Lois. Can you talk about your version of Clark and how you wanted to make him stand out compared to previous iterations of the character?
Well, I grew up with Christopher Reeve being my Superman. I love that. But as Clark Kent, I was like, come on, don't be the nerdy guy, be more like Clark should be, which was more like the way George Reeves played Clark Kent, if any of you remember that one. And I liked it. He was cool, he was doing his thing, and Clark really was the character for Lois and Clark too. And Superman was a disguise that he put on that his mom made for him. You guys believe it. It was so cool, it was so much fun to do. And I also love the fact that he had his father, and that was a big part of our show that didn't exist in a lot of Superman lore. It was great to have the parents teaching him and having him go through that process. What was the question?
We're good.
I answered it?
You did. You absolutely did.
6 out of 10?
6 out of 10. Brandon, you had mentioned earlier that your iteration, especially your movie Superman Returns, is a sequel to Superman 2. And many people see, and your iteration of Clark was really based on Chris Reeve. Can you talk about emulating Chris, but also still making the role completely your own?
Yeah, absolutely. I was tasked with transitioning the character from Chris playing the character to me in a similar, pretty much the same story, but where I have a different face, so it's a different guy. But continuing the same vibe and the fact that.
Oh, you do look pretty similar. I'm just going to say.
Well, also, and sometimes sounds so. That helps. But again, read like rule number 1 or whatever, which is it was always going to be like Chris, even if it was some other, it would be some other version of that slightly altered Superman, because you know, I wasn't playing Chris, I wasn't playing Superman. You're playing the feeling, the love when you're Superman. I didn't know what I was when I was 25. When I reprised my role when I was 40, that helped because I was a father and I had understood a lot more things about life. I felt more worthy of myself and more worthy of myself in the role, and able to be a better conduit and tell the archetype and story of hero and Superman. And that continues to grow. So anyway, I had that spark then, and that's where Clark came out of. The only conscious shift I thought I had about Clark was I didn't want him to necessarily just be bumbling and be clumsy. Like, I had to figure out a reason why he's like that. He's not putting on an act, it's because he's excited to human. Very excited. I'm not even a good human now until he moved out to got in college and then moved out to LA. Like I lived a kind of like, quiet life. And so it's fun to human, as long as we do it safely and with love. So absolutely. That helps me, it's like, interact with the world and be a part of it and see how cool we all are.
Are you guys down to play a fun little game we have set up? Maybe. It's pretty easy. So it's called Pixelated Showdown. In Pixelated Showdown, you'll guess the iconic scene from your show as they chart from blurry to clear. The audience can shout out hints, so you guys are involved as well. And once it's revealed, hopefully you guys can share some fun memories. You guys down?
I'm down, but it's going to be tough on Tom. He had 10 seasons.
It's going to be really tough.
Are we watching this?
So it's up here. Brent, we're going to start with you. If you there's a screen up here. And that's... You have a fun story about this? This was a promo photo, right?
Yeah, it's the first photo we took of the suits.
Yeah, that's definitely Brandon Routh. That was
Can we get that a little bit more clear? Oh, and can we get it clear? Brandon knew what it was. So, was this the first time you put the suit on for like promo?
No, first time it was in public.
Oh.
And I had this thing, like a new cape, cloth thing that I have to wear around the studios in Australia.
I think it's a little harder than I haven't necessarily seen this. Let's go to our second one. The second one? We have the second one.
Dean Cain. Definitely Dean Cain.
I can see the Asian eyes. That was a promo photo early on.
You have any fun stories about this promo photo and wearing this suit?
I can put the suit on because I was terrified because they brought me this one-piece piece of Lycra. Yeah. And they said, put it on. And I have a little space here, I go to the bathroom, and I was like, this doesn't feel super. Then we got Brandon Store's card key around. Everybody wants to go to Brandon later. And then we got the little undies, and I was helping with this, and even that in the booth. Hey, you been on? But without the S, I felt like I got the S, so that was that. So it worked out. But yeah, it was an odd thing. We changed the tape year to year, but by year 2.5, we had that down.
Was your tape heavy?
It was pretty heavy, but it kind of came over the shoulders and around the back, and for any of you that have capes out there, exactly. It's a whole Magilla. So
It's another character.
it is another character. And then Terry Hatcher had to go be naked with the cape on, sell all his photos. Sold more than I did. So
Let's go to our next one.
All right. Okay, that's animated series.
This is gonna be hard, right?
Yeah.
1 out of 2. Let's do it. A little clearer.
Yeah, Superman the animated series.
It's too clean and shaded every time.
I'm feeling this.
A little bit more clear.
There it is.
There it is.
Tim Daley. Yeah!
I remember you so much that out. Can you talk about when you were first cast on the audition process for the role?
When I was first cast, it was a total mistake. I was doing a TV show called Wings. And our lead short, and he was married to one of our executive producers, Chris Lloyd, who went on to create, Mock Family and Great Right. Legendary jump out. Harley walked up to me one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in auditioning for the voice of Superman?" And I said, "Sure." So I went to the studio, and I met Andre Romano, and I tried to do some Superman voice. No, calm down, Buster. Do it regular, and I did it, and they said, "You're hired." And I was like, "What?" I had no idea what was in store. And to my shame, I didn't quite understand what an archetypal character Superman was and how meaningful he was to so many people. I thought that I was doing something fun for a bunch of kids on Saturday morning. I didn't really realize that Superman had become part of the collective consciousness. So it was a responsibility that I don't think take quite seriously enough at the time. But I had a great time, and my Superman outfit was like my jam. It was just my voice. I didn't have to shave, I didn't have to be all handsome like these guys. Jordan's good, just go up. We have a face for radio, right? You didn't wear the suit at home? I could have done it at home. Andrea was so wonderful, and the most parts on the series was just great. So that's the story.
Incredible. Let's go to our next one. See what we got.
Tom. So before we this is the only time they got in.
Let's get over here. Yeah, let's tell
They didn't build me a full suit. We very much storyboarded this shot on purpose, and the crane was going to come in, and I would run up to the crane, and the crane was going to stop, and I was going to stop, and if we didn't, we'd crash into each other. And the wardrobe people were like, "So you're not going to see the full suit?" Like, yeah, well then why are we going to build a whole suit? Like, we got thousands of dollars. And so it ended up being some version, not necessarily a crop top. It's kind of a onesie that pretty sure there weren't sleeves. It was just what you see. And then that was it.
Pro tip cosplayers, if you want to do a little ones with no sleeves.
Yeah.
I have a question actually about this suit, because you were handed a suit from Jonathan Kent when you were Superman and Fly Out. Was that a real suit?
I think, sorry, I don't know. Probably no. I don't know if they've said that they took it from one of the other movies.
I don't know.
The S is similar to mine, so it might have been, yeah. I don't know.
It might have been.
Interesting. All right, let's move on to the next one, which...
All right. Tyler, yeah.
By the way, this is, from now on, in my mind, it's a crop top. For me.
Yeah, and Tyler, you had a lot of different iterations of the suit. There was a black suit you ended up wearing. There was obviously Bizarro. You had the original Fleischer suit. Talk to me about your relationship with the suit, wearing it for 4 years, and how it got more comfortable over time.
Yeah, we did a lot of different versions of it. The Supergirl one, so the Supergirl one that we had written initially had was really just built to be a guest star. It was really going to be 2 episodes, and that was really it. So when we decided we were going to do a standalone series, it was not built to withstand that. The cape was made of actual, real, heavy leather. So it was 12 to 15 pounds just dry, and then anytime we would be wet, it was dirty, because it just pulled all the water. So we got rid of that. That was a good first step. And then, yeah, they just wanted, each season they wanted to creatively do something to evolve the suit and give us something new to play with. So they took that as an opportunity design-wise for functionality and for style to just continue to change it up. Honestly, the Fleischer suit was my favorite one to wear.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it's from that comic, which was awesome. And I got to do it just a couple times in the flashback scenes and everything. So
that was my favorite one where it was a little bit more nostalgic.
And you guys created that iconic Superman poster, like Superman #1, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, Brandon, you kind of got created too with that Mustang in your film as well.
That's cool to see that.
I have a quick question. When you were on the show, were there like suit days where that was the day they were shooting everything in a suit, or would they have you go in and out of it?
We would try to do that. We would try to, but eventually we had to do things too, where we would have to be in it for a certain amount of time, and we have to get out of it for a while. Because like Sundays and stuff, doing like it looks great when it's on anime, but like reaching across, like your left wrist is pulling on your right ankle. So it's just like break, pause, a little bit of water, and like it'll reset. Yeah.
So I think we got one more. I think we know who's going to be. I bet it's George. Yeah, the 70s George. Looks just like me.
Looks just like me.
It looks like a Lego.
Mario Kart?
Mario Kart. George, I think that Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah. Love that cartoon.
Justice League Unlimited, I think even now is one of the best told Justice League stories and DC stories just came across the board. Were you able to record your lines with your fellow cast members?
Yeah, that was incredible. We after Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, they brought in such incredible people, Mark Hamill and Rip Torn of all people. Just the list was sort of endless. John Days. I wish I had a whole list in front of me, but every day we would go in and go, we do this.
And that's it.
Oh, yeah, incredible. And that's right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It was incredible.
So we have a few What's that?
About the Superman suits. I don't know if this is common knowledge, but I knew Chris Reeve a little bit. I dropped something. It's a name.
Dude.
Like he break out in these terrible rashes. It was really horrible for him, and they had to, put salve or something like that. Anyway, I thought that was common knowledge, maybe, but that's what he told me.
Speaking of Chris Reeve, Tom, I wanted to ask you because you got the torch passed to you by Chris Reeve himself when he played Dr. Gordon Swan. Can you talk about his work ethic on set, what you learned from him, just as a performer, and just being in the presence of him on that show?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously considering the circumstances of the situation. We got there, and the plan was to shoot 4 hours and get his side of 2 scenes, and then he would leave, and then I would do my side with someone else. And we did the first scene, and then they said, okay, we're going to do the next scene. He goes, well, what about Tom? I mean, obviously he didn't point. I mean, that's a joke. I'm not making fun of it, because one thing he didn't do is let me you didn't feel sorry for him at all. He was actually telling jokes the whole time. We had a riot. He was cracking up. But he was like, no, I'm not leaving. And long story short, it got to the point about 8 hours into the day, and they turned around filming my scenes with him. And his nurse with Colin returning was like, if you don't come with me in 15 minutes, I'm calling the police. And she could. Like, he had to leave, and he looked at me and he goes, they're always telling me what to do. And then we just had a really great banter. I had a lot of fun with him, and it was so cool that the scene was this brilliant scientist who knew William Clark and was downloading Clark this information, and here I was with this brilliant man who downloaded with so much information. But yeah, I walked away from it wanting to be a better person, that's for sure.
That's absolutely. I gotta ask, because I'm on stage and I never get this opportunity, Superman, trunks or no trunks? What says you?
My 6-year-old just asked me that the other day why is his underwear outside. I didn't know what to say.
No, trunks for sure. Trunks for sure.
Right, trunks.
A little modesty is important because it looks better.
Thong.
Go along with those Superman noises we're making up.
And his daddies.
Tyler, how about you?
suit, I will say, but I didn't enjoy the no trunks. I enjoyed the, on a daily basis, like, you know, for special occasion trunks. Regular basis, nothing.
Superman trunks.
I'm gonna say something, I'll just say the cape, and then the rest is commando.
There we go.
Bird, players.
It's a problem. Listen, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure being up here with you. Like I said, as a kid, Tyler, I mentioned this on our panel before, but yeah, the way my parents used to make me go to churches, I was allowed to wear a Superman suit underneath my church clothes. And then, you know, I got into Screen Rant because Clark Kent was a journalist, and I wanted to be a journalist. And now as a dad, Tyler, especially now, I so much identify so much more with Clark, just being a father, and trying to strive to what you guys each brought to the role. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, because this is a once in a lifetime thing. This is incredible. Yes, that was great for all of you. All of you coming out there. Let's put on some shirts that can go out. Shirts. Yeah, we have a lot of shirts today. Let's get off this left. She's a blue
Doesn't get much better than this. They're shooting hard. Love you, man.
Here, get it.
Too cool. Well, that was pretty cool. I gotta say, for me, that was, well, super cool. Totally amazing. The Supermen panel. And there's more to come here at MegaCon. That's just the start. I'm gonna try to continue streaming live. I will tell y'all, you don't know what it's doing to my knees to get down enough to videotape that and have it live, but it's been incredible. I hope you really enjoyed it. I mean, even beyond just the fact that it was Superman, seeing Tim Daley, I remember him from Wings, hearing like the Supermen of the animated series when we were younger. Tom Welling, a Gen Xer, who a lot of us didn't think was a Gen Xer because he played a teenager when he was in his mid-20s. But he's Gen X up there, so that was super cool for me, super fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll continue to stream live, and stuff will also be available if you guys are watching this on repeat. Check out other videos because there's the Breakfast Club that we also have a panel of. Just a lot of stuff. Check it out. Check back in. More panels coming. We've got a Smallville panel later this afternoon. Good panel. Love you guys.